Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by AbleAuctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
And as we say in the business, they say that in a lot of businesses, as a matter of fact. All guests today on Donnie and Dolly, sponsored by the O's marketing team at Royal LePage. They will find your next home in Nanaimo, Nanoose Bay, Parksville, and Qualicum Beach. Find out more at wearerealestate.com. Donnie and Dolly presented by Able Auctions and King of Floors as we bring in our old friend from Sportsnet, Gene Principe. How are you, Gene?
Hey, guys, good. Can they get me a deal on a condo in Parksville? I hear it's beautiful.
I'll work on it for you, and it is beautiful. Rathcliffe Beach, all of that. You want to live there, Gene. Trust me. Hey, Gene, what was your takeaway from the Ken Holland press conference, which just wrapped up? What stood out?
Ooh, well, it was an hour and 5 minutes, so there was a lot to take away. What do I think? I think that Ken is patient. I think that Ken is going off his blueprint with the Red Wings. In that they suffered, after they left the Dead Things era. They were a good team for a long time, but didn't win right away with Yzerman and Fedorov, just to name a couple of, superstar players they had, Shanahan. He knows he's got Leon and Connor, and he's got to find the right mix of players to go with those guys. He does feel like the team made progress. But steps to come, and that he's not going to kind of run around and try and sabotage the future of the team to try and make a one-off run. He's trying to build something here so that these teams or this team is able to be a competitive club all the time. So really, he's trying to do what he did in Detroit. He's just trying to do it, let's say 98, 08, but approximately 20 years later, let's say, than what he was able to accomplish with the Red Wings.
I know the answer to this question for some people, and shame on them, would be Ethan Bear. But who are people blaming for the Oilers' demise?
Well, yeah, and at the end of it, Ken discussed for people tuning into your show, Ethan, according to his girlfriend, received some racist comments, remarks about being Indigenous. And unfortunately, he was involved in the third goal that tied the game in the third period. And, I mean, he gave up the puck, and then there were about 4 more touches. So even that's, it wasn't like a direct turnover and straight in. And then the poor guy was making a change on what turned out to be the series-winning goal in triple overtime. And again, puck's at the opposing team's blue line. He thinks it's going in. Mm-hmm. I mean, you haven't played in almost 3 periods. You're like, hey, I did my 40 seconds. I'm going to get out of here and let someone else come on. So it wasn't his fault, far from it. But it is the fault of people who jump in and make these comments. Listen, social media can be enlightening and on some occasions super and good and positive, but on many occasions it's not. And right now I think that the poor young man has received lots of hatred for no reason, including his background. And as Ken Holland said, it's disgusting. So I hope that gets, it's interesting because in other sports, particularly soccer, there's lots of racism, and those fans just get banned. Like, you're done. If they figure out who it is, you just don't go to the games. So we'll see where that goes. But, that's unfortunate. And certainly Ethan wasn't at fault. You win as a team, you lose as a team. And that's certainly the case for Edmonton.
So who else are people targeting?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's more they're targeting the team. And I would say, I'm not sure if a team's who's come off a sweep has had people feel compassion for them, but I almost feel like that's what's going on in Edmonton. I think there were more daggers thrown at them when they lost in the qualifying round last year in the bubble than this year, even though it's another playoff disappointment. I think that people see that they've got it. They've got something happening here, but it just hasn't happened yet. So it's tough to ask Oiler fans to continue to be patient, but I feel like people, I don't want to feel sorry for them, because then that feels, a little bit like, hey, we really don't want people to feel sorry for us, but I think they feel bad for them, with the understanding that there's more to come. And the facial expressions of those players, it was like they lost a Stanley Cup final, really. If you didn't know it was the opening round of the playoffs, you think, well, why those looks? But I think those looks tie into just what this franchise has gone through for a lengthy amount of time, and certainly from 2015 when Connor was the lottery pick, or the year before when Leon was picked, or the year before when Darnell was picked. This one really hurt, and I think everyone around the organization hopes that it motivates them, and continues to motivate them, to be better, to get better, and to make the kind of push that I think a lot of people around the hockey world expect from Edmonton.
Hey, Gene, let's look ahead. Oh, boy, what a summer for you guys. 11 UFAs. The big one for me is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, the kid from the Burnaby Winter Club. He can come home if he wants, or he can go to he can go to Seattle. It's 2 hours away for the Burnaby native. What are you hearing on Nugent-Hopkins?
That's a great one. I mean, Nuge is, I've got kids that aren't quite that old, but, Nuge is one of those guys that, he's been here for 10 years. And, his dad's done a great job, Roger, of raising him. So he doesn't need another surrogate dad, but he's one of those guys, through all those tough seasons, you just want to give a big hug to, because you can just see how hard it's been on him. It'll be interesting. And I think, listen, this isn't a case where the Oilers won't make an offer. They will, and have, and they've discussed it. But it'll kind of be, how bad do the Oilers want him, and are they willing to lose him? And then on Ryan's side is, how bad does he want to stay, or how much might he want to explore a longer term or more money? I think there's a fit here. Because he's such a great kid, a great adult now. And I think the Oilers understand, despite the fact that Ken Holland and Dave Tippett are new, they didn't draft him. They haven't sort of cultivated him as a member of the Oilers for this decade. But, they've been around the game. They know what he means to the club. And I think, Ryan's one of those guys that Dave Tippett loves to have on his bench and available to him in virtually any situation. But they're going to have to figure out how much that's worth to them, and Ryan's going to have to figure out how much he's worth, and the two sides will kind of see if there's a match, a fit, a close proximity that will make everybody kind of walk away going, okay, I'm not thrilled, but I'm happy. So that you don't want to move forward thinking that you could have done this, you should have went there, or I might have been able to get this. So it'll be interesting to see how those negotiations take place, and I think they'll be successful in him returning. But who can predict, right? Hard to predict.
Hard to predict on that one. And the other one quickly is Victoria native Tyson Barrie. No summer goes by in Vancouver where the Canucks aren't attached to Tyson Barrie rumors. What do you see happening there?
Yeah, that's another interesting one, and I think a lot of it has to do with Oscar Klefbom. And that you've got your number one defenseman who still has years left on his deal, and you're not sure if he can come back. But that will have to be resolved to the extent where Edmonton will know more. They may not know for sure if Oscar's coming back, and they'll have to make a decision. I think Tyson loved it here. He certainly he led the NHL in scoring for Blue Liners. But, he's at kind of that age too, in that 29, soon to be 30-year-old, I believe. This could be, depending on the length of the deal, might be his last deal, or it might be his last big deal. So, they'll have to kind of see. The Oilers have money to spend. One thing he did talk about, another guy who's going to bunker down in Kelowna is Mike Smith. He mentioned that the family's kind of moved there and set up shop in British Columbia. And he did say that he'll meet with Mike in the next week to 10 days. So there definitely is a feel like he'll be back. Tyson is a little more difficult to call. I mean, this guy's had quite the whirlwind tour and playing in some great cities with incredible players in Colorado, Toronto, and now Edmonton. So I think he's at the stage in his career and life where he'll have his own priorities and figure out whether those mesh with the Oilers. But again, I think there's a fit there. There isn't a history because it's only been 1 year. But who wouldn't want, a guy back who led the NHL in points in the blue line? I mean, it seems to be a great possibility to continue having him on a team with Leon Connor, and he was a great partner for Darnell Nurse as well.
Okay, as we let you go here, Gene, let me just say this. We were talking earlier about Wayne Gretzky leaving the Oilers organization. He's going to be an analyst for TNT. Who would be the perfect host to bring the best out of Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
This guy right here.
Right here.
Gene Principe.
Yep.
Would be just ideal.
That would be great. Hey, that would be great. Hey, yeah. The great one and the other one.
Oh,
that
perfect.
Would be our handle.
Perfect. You get a raise, the whole bit. Gene, thanks so much for this.
All right, boys. Take care. Appreciate it. And good luck with the new show. Great review so far, so keep it up.
Thanks so much, Gene.
Thank you, Gene.
Gene Principe, one of the nicest guys in the business. And let me tell you this, that when I was at Sportsnet, they did this with everybody. They'd bring us into Toronto for whatever reason to meet everybody. And they used Gene in Toronto. They'd bring him in from Edmonton. And I don't know if you remember this, but he'd work as a host on Sportsnet and just nail it. He was just so good.
Professional.
I believe they offered him a chance to move there, and he wanted to stay in Edmonton with his family and the whole bit. He is a really talented broadcaster.
Nice guy.
Why don't we do this? DTMZ is next. Why don't we do a bit of a left turn here? We wanted to run the Tankathon simulator. Why don't we make that part of DTMZ? If that's okay with you, Mr. Big Shot over there. Okay? Sure. Make that part of DTMZ. We'll blend it all together, and it'll work. Our thanks to Gene Principe. DTMZ is next. Donnie and Dolly, the team, on check.